Public clouds adhere to the same cloud computing characteristics that other cloud deployment models do. That includes resource pooling. The cloud service provider has all of the underlying infrastructure pooled together and thus made available to the cloud customers. Public clouds provide broad access. This means that public cloud customers can access public cloud services over the internet from a variety of different types of devices, such as tablets, smartphones, laptops, desktops, and even specialty devices in some cases, such as is the case with IoT devices. Then there's metered usage. You can sign up with a subscription in Microsoft Azure, such as a pay-as-you-go subscription, which means that you pay for the cloud resources that you consume. And so that is tracked. It's metered usage. Rapid elasticity allows cloud customers to provision and also deprovision cloud-based resources like virtual machines, storage accounts, databases, and so on, quickly and easily through a self-provisioning mechanism. Self-provisioning means that the cloud customer provisions and deprovisions these resources as needed without having to involve the cloud service provider. And this self-provisioning is possible using command line tools. It's possible using the web GUI, the Azure portal. It's also possible programmatically through the REST API. The other thing to consider is that the public cloud is available to anybody that is willing to sign up for an account. Now, in the case of Microsoft Azure, we can sign up for a free trial account initially to try it out to make sure it might meet business requirements. So the account then needs to be created. However, the cloud provider, in this case Microsoft, still owns the underlying IT infrastructure in the Microsoft Azure data centers. So the other things to think about with public clouds are the network link speed to the cloud, physical data center security, and also any security accreditations that might have been achieved by the cloud service provider, the CSP. The network link speed is going to be important if you're using the public cloud, especially at the enterprise level, because in order to get to cloud services, you're traversing a network, whether it be the internet or whether it be a dedicated network circuit, such as is available with Azure ExpressRoute. But it's always important to make sure that we can access those services over the network in a timely fashion. On the physical data center security side, we have to be assured, and there are reports that are published by Microsoft from third-party audits, which includes auditing of the physical data centers themselves and their security mechanisms. The CSP security accreditations are also published, such as for international security standards like PCI DSS compliance in Azure, as well as more regionally based regulations like the GDPR or General Data Protection Regulation, which exists to safeguard the privacy of European Union citizen data. So this is all published on the Azure public website where we can see which security accreditations are available. In the public cloud, there is a shared responsibility. The shared responsibility really depends on the cloud service deployed. As an example, imagine you've deployed a virtual machine in Azure. So who's responsible for that virtual machine? Microsoft would be responsible for the underlying infrastructure that makes that virtual machine run, makes it available, the underlying hypervisor server and the network infrastructure, the storage arrays that make virtual disk storage possible, all of that stuff is Microsoft's responsibility. But if you've manually deployed a virtual machine as infrastructure as a service or IaaS, you as the customer are responsible for the configuration of that virtual machine to make sure it's reachable for remote management, configuring and applying updates within that virtual machine operating system would fall upon you as opposed to Microsoft in the case of infrastructure as a service. The other thing to think about from a security standpoint is that public clouds are a larger target for malicious users, just like a bank would be, as opposed to storing money under your mattress, let's say, for example. However, bear in mind that because public clouds have all of these security accreditations, their environments are probably more secure than what most enterprises could afford to apply, both at the physical data center level and also at the IT infrastructure level. With the Microsoft Azure public cloud, the variety of IT services offered by Microsoft can vary sometimes from region to region, especially when they are new preview features. But other items such as certain virtual machine instance types, which determines underlying horsepower, are only available in certain regions. If you need graphic acceleration compute power for a virtual machine, well, that might only be available in certain regions. The use of dedicated hosts, whereby you have virtual machines running in an Azure data center, but that underlying hypervisor is not being shared with other Microsoft Azure customer virtual machines. The use of the public cloud requires having cloud technicians that know what they're doing with that specific solution, such as Microsoft Azure. That means becoming certified to prove that one has the ability to manage that type of cloud. The other consideration is vendor lock-in. In a public cloud computing environment, you want to make sure that you're not selecting a public cloud provider that uses proprietary formats for file storage. You want to be able to make sure that you can get data out of that cloud provider and either back on premises or into a different public cloud provider should the need arise. Luckily, in the case of Microsoft Azure, standards are adhered to when it comes to file formats and templates used for deploying virtual machines and other resources.